the Sportsline Podcast on the CHCH and Parrot Media platforms. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Bubba O'Neill. Folks, celebrating the outstanding athletes, coaches, executives from Southern Ontario is something we love to do. Today, an entire league that has over 100 years of history is making major changes. Why don't you just say it? Like, I mean, and I know yeah. Eric kind of talked about this as well too. He was kind of teasing it.
It's not a tease. I think the talk,
what's happening here?
The talk around the league is we want to start moving towards a professional league, and there's steps. It's very in its infancy stage, but there has been talks about doing that and moving towards that direction.
Well, that podcast was done over 6 months ago, and Welland Jackfish owner Ryan Harrison kind of gave us a sneak peek. The change was coming to the Intercounty Baseball League. For the full story, let's introduce the commissioner, Ted Kalnins. Thanks for joining us, partner.
Thanks, Bubba. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I think maybe you might have been biting your lip when Ryan was talking to us about 6 months ago on that podcast, because I don't know if he cornered himself, but he went down a road that maybe he shouldn't have went down.
Look, the journalists in you got the right questions out, and you sensed it, I guess, with the momentum that we had in this league. And, you know, right down to the name. I think you at one point said Canadian Baseball League, and he said, I don't know, maybe one time, we'll see. And so, yeah, I think you had this story before anybody else. But, yeah, we're finally there this Monday. Well,
congratulations. The announcement was made just this week, and this is a big step for a league that has such history. But I think, at least I get the feeling, that there was some names or thoughts about the Intercounty Baseball League that you wanted to eliminate. I'll start with the first one, that it's a semi-pro league.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things that has been a challenge for our league has been communicating to the fans who we are, you know, because the growth has been immense, and we can talk about that later. But a persistent question has been, what does that even mean? You're semi-pro. In what way is that not pro? What does intercounty mean? Because it's kind of seems like you're just talking about a men's league that's playing between one county and another county, or what? And it hasn't been properly reflective of how great this league is.
So, I mean, obviously there's so many other steps. Why the trigger? Why was now the time?
You know, the thing is mainly because of the momentum. The momentum has been so strong. When I started as commissioner 3 years ago, we had a record year. Our first year eclipsing the 100,000 fan mark. We thought, wow, this is really going in a great direction. The very next year, we added another 50 or 60,000. Which is, you think about that, like, you know, that's half of what you had the year before, on top of what you already had. And then this past year, 250,000. So the growth in interest has been so acute that we really, this was almost inevitable. You can't really promote a league strongly as a semi-pro league with the name Intercounty, when in reality, you're the best league in Canada. We should be embracing that. So it helps us promote the league, the players, and so that's why we did it.
I'll ask you just this flat-out question. This is pretty simple. Why is the attendance up? I mean, I'm sure there's different reasons for different markets, but on a basic, what's going on with this league? Why did it all of a sudden, and it does seem like all of a sudden, it's seemingly gotten cool with people?
You know, there are a variety of reasons. I think probably the main reason are people like Ryan Harrison that you interviewed and what he did in Welland to make it fun. You know, it is entertainment, right? I mean, so, you know, when I was growing up in the 1990s, you know, my dad took me to these parks. You know, the Hamilton Redbirds played at Bernie Arbor Stadium. I went to Welland to watch the Pirates play, although that was a shorter-lived history. Went to St. Catharines to watch the Stompers. Before that, the St. Catharines Blue Jays. And it was great baseball, you know, low cost, have some hot dogs. I'd bring my glove like the one you have sitting next to you here, go behind the stands with my dad, play catch. For an inning, because I was, 9, 10 years old or 11 years old, didn't have the attention span to stay there the whole game. Play catch, come back, watch some more baseball, and that's what we're doing now. We're adding in entertainment. So, I mean, I watched your podcast with Ryan Harrison and the clips you guys had of, the inflatable spheres of people bashing each other between innings, the various Kiss the Fish promotions. And, this is what people are drawn to and coming back to. They're probably the first one to really lean in on this, and other teams in our league are doing the same thing, and that's what's really bringing out so many more fans.
It seems to be working, and I mean, is it fair to say too that what happened with the Blue Jays is only going to help you guys in its own way?
Well, the timing is, what is it, serendipitous?
Yeah.
Because for sure, I mean, we've always known that when the Blue Jays do really well, grassroots baseball grows, more kids want to play baseball. I was the same way with any sport. Something that's exciting. I remember watching Wimbledon as a kid, and I'd be like, let's go out and get a racket and go play tennis for the first time in my life because I saw greatness on TV, right? And so the same thing with the Blue Jays. Undoubtedly, this is going to lead to even more interest in baseball. But Clint, we had several people message us on social media to say, hey, I actually just got interested in baseball watching the Welland Jackfish this summer. And I carried over into watching the Blue Jays for the first time because they had this great playoff run. So I think we're actually helping them too a little bit.
Well, on a local level, to the outside, to the macro, absolutely. And I mean, it just all works together. And I know that you guys in many leagues in terms of many of your teams are promoting minor league teams as well too. Come watch us play. Watch big guys playing baseball.
Oh,
as well,
for
too.
sure, yeah.
And that just seems to work. I mean, I think really, whether it be hockey, sport, soccer, that just seems to work, bringing in the kids.
Yeah, for sure. We have lots of kids that come together, they wear their jerseys. I mean, it's similar. You see this at hockey games, too. If you went to a Marlies game, you'd see a bunch of kids wearing their youth hockey jerseys. The same thing in our games. And what's great is that in addition to being, they can access the players. They can talk to them. They can get autographs. They can run the bases. I mean, it's really special. Last year, the thing that was really special was in the Toronto, at Christie Pitts for the Toronto Maple Leafs, because they had the first female professional player of all time in our league, Ayami Sato. There were girls teams coming out, and so girls baseball is growing too. So I saw the entire girls baseball team there in their uniforms last year in Toronto. It was pretty special.
Let's establish this, too. I mean, you have a long history with the IBL. You talked about being a commissioner for 3 years and taking on that. I know you're a lawyer as well, too. You've well-versed yourself in how to run a league. But this also is probably very special to you because you played in the league, right?
I did. But even going prior to that, I want to say it's really special to sit next to you here, Bubba, because I, as a kid who grew up in Burlington in the 1990s, I watched Halton Sports Week a lot, waiting for you to mention MM Robinson Rams at any point in time, so I could say, lean in and say, okay, what's he going to say?
You guys played in the Metro Bowl, did you not? Like a Metro Bowl version, did you not?
Well, I mean, the football team was amazing. I didn't play football. I played basketball and baseball and volleyball, but you covered it all, and it was always impressive how you made it seem like you knew everything about every team in the league and every sport. I mean, it was you and Steve were incredible. So yeah, I played baseball growing up, and I did play a little intercounty just before I went to university at Ohio State, and then I played a little bit when I came back, and then I went right into law school and said, I'm focusing on the law. And then I came back. It drew me back in again about 5 or 6, 7 years later. I was practicing law in London, Ontario, and that park, Labatt Park, is so special. It's still the longest continuously operated baseball stadium in the world. Oh, and I mean, tremendous history going back to the London Tecumsehs of the early aughts of the 21st or the 20th century, and it's such a special park. It's kept so well by the city of London. Just to smell the grass again, I went out and played a little bit more. So I've had a little bit of a connection to the league back then too. So I mean, I know for players what it's like to finish off your career and feel like, I'm still playing meaningful baseball, but what's next? How do I end this in a way that makes me feel like I had good closure? You know what I mean? So I know what they're going through too. And so I think this change is going to be exciting for them to feel like, I'm playing in a professional league at the end of my run.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because you brought up Labatt Park, and I know obviously here in this area we love to promote, as you see, the Jackfish and the Cardinals as well too, who have, as you talked about, are doing so well at the attendance gate. People have recognized these teams. And I think to start it off too, they've gone out. I think and I've said this to Ryan as well too, is I love the fact that you guys have got cool clothes, hats, like the new logo, a refreshment for Eric in terms of the Cardinal. People are attracted to that kind of stuff. We see it every year, and like every team and every sport now has a third or a fourth or a fifth jersey now, right? So changing these things.
No, it's key. It's how people view the league, right?
Yes.
That we're younger, we're more, the social media is better, and we're having fun. We're not taking ourselves too seriously either. Brian's uniforms have some very cute little, icons related to Welland, and it's very interesting. The big story last year in terms of branding was the London Majors having the Cobra Chickens as their alter ego name for a period of time, which was, supposed to be just an April Fool's joke on social media, but the fans said, please do this, please do this. So they went and made the uniforms real quick with in a bright neon pink and powder blue uniform, and I know that they sold more merchandise with that branding than they had with other merchandise of their own in a couple of months over past years. So we're having fun.
For all this to happen, you need strong markets, and with the addition of Chatham most recently, there's good things happening in this league, is there not? Like in terms of the actual markets that you're in.
Yeah. And, so Chatham Kent came in 2 years ago and they sold out every single game. It was a small park, mind you, but they just added another, I think, 600 or 700 seats this past summer. It's probably going to grow further from there. But the city's embraced it. Like they didn't have that summer entertainment that they could attend that was fun, and they're doing it fun too. Like we definitely wanted to make sure that when they joined the league, they adopted the best practices of our other teams. So if you watch their operation in terms of how professional it is, how much fun they're having, that's the reason for their success. So we're going down the road where we'll definitely add another team, probably in 2027. And we're getting a lot of interest from across Ontario and in Montreal.
As we go take a look at this board that has some of the changes, maybe you can run through a couple of them as well too, but what we can certainly look forward to, obviously the Intercounty Baseball League, that is no longer the name, it is a Canadian Baseball League, all encompassing. You've increased your games as well.
Yeah, we've added in 6 more regular season games, and that's great for the fans in every market because they'll be insured to at least have those 48 games. And the postseason is going to be a little shorter. One of the criticisms we had from our fans specifically was that it doesn't make it as fun when almost everyone makes the playoffs.
Yeah.
So we heard that feedback, and we trimmed it down to make it a little more competitive, so that fighting for that top 5 positions is going to be more meaningful. Yeah, all of our games are going to be streamed live. They've already were streamed on YouTube, but now we're going to be able to access them by our own custom app that'll be on the providers you see down there, Roku, Fire.
Outstanding. You got to have an app nowadays.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun. But I mean, the other thing I want to say is we're still the same league. Like that league didn't end, and now we have a new league. That league is very importantly still part of our history. So we're still awarding the Jack and Lynn Domenico Cup Trophy next year. Okay. If you're a fan in Barrie, you're still chasing your 9th title. All of that history is staying. The stats, the all-time leaders are all things we're going to preserve, and is very important to us. One of the things I wanted to do as commissioner last year, this is before we had even started talking about changing our designation and our name, was let's do more to preserve our history. So I reached out to SABR, which you might know is the Society of American Baseball Researchers. They were famous for the Moneyball kind of way of looking at baseball long ago. But there's chapters all over North America. So we have a great chapter called the Hanlansport chapter in Toronto, and I've reached out to them, and I've been working with them to try to amass and preserve some of the history of the IBL because, going from the internet forward, of course, we can find a lot of things, but going backwards, we got to check microfiche in libraries. We got to call up some of our surviving members of defunct teams to see if they still have jerseys and whatnot. So we're doing a lot to try to preserve and collect that history. And I do think, I don't know if it'll be ready next year or the year after. At some point, there'll be a great museum, maybe online only. Maybe we'll have a traveling museum. I don't know. Maybe it'll be next to a park of ours. But But the history of the IBL is super important to us and isn't changing just because of what's happening this week.
Yeah, that's what you stand on, right? I mean, obviously that's where it all started, and of course you certainly, I'm happy to hear that you're going to maintain this and keep this, because it is important, and especially in the league of this, it's been going on for, was it 1919?
1919. Wow. I mean, the history has been rich and interesting because there have been former major league players coming up and down.
So many.
There's a great era of all the Negro League players that were coming up here and who loved it here and then tried to stay here because they thought, like, this is a great place to live. And we had Fergie Jenkins coming up in the early 80s to play here afterwards. And then last year, Fernando Rodney playing in this league because of the love of the game. I mean, what's interesting with the Blue Jays run that you mentioned earlier is, not only did they have a good year, but it was a magical year. I'm sure you would agree. Like there was a hint of magic, a sprinkle of magic,
no doubt,
on what they were doing. They were exceeding everyone's expectations. It was the culture, it was the camaraderie. There was something very special there. I've always felt that about baseball. So I'm so happy for people to see that. The Blue Jays helped people understand that there's something. And look, I mean, I'm not saying this to say another sports that doesn't exist, but I do think that there's something special about baseball. Like when
it's
you watch,
romantic.
When you watch Field of Dreams, I watch, the main character there, Kevin Costner, playing catch with his dad. I mean, to me, I'll never forget that. Like my Field of Dreams. And I said this, I remember when I was a board member of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame for a few years, and I was sending out the letters to try to appeal to donors and say, hey, here's why you might want to donate to the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. We're trying to preserve the story of Canadian baseball and the things that have happened on our soil. I remember saying, my Field of Dreams is the park across the street from my house, where my dad we'd walk after dinner and he'd hit me massive fly balls. Like I'm talking, I can't believe how powerful he was. And I would chase them down, I'd catch them, I'd throw them into him, and we'd walk back. And, it wasn't about the words exchanged. It was just that being together, that father and son moment. I'll never forget it. That's my Field of Dreams. And, we're trying to expand that here in Ontario, that in our parks, yes, we're growing. Yes, there's more fans. Yes, we're having fun. But we do want to continue to make it affordable, keep it real low cost, have as many people as possible share in that experience. And create new experiences, whether you're playing baseball or whether you're just going to a game. I mean, I know, like, Bubba, I remember I have a 9-year-old son, and we went to the All-Star game in Hamilton, and it was a hot day, sunny day, and, he was sitting there pretty quiet, watching, and we love baseball, but he was pretty quiet. And the thing that got the biggest rise out of him was the mascots dancing and being funny, you know what I mean? Like, the mascots started dancing, he started smiling, he started pointing out, leaning towards me, and it's just that, sharing that moment together, that laugh together is really special. And, Major League Baseball isn't that accessible to everybody.
True.
I mean, when I was growing up, we could afford one game a year. We go to one game at Exhibition Stadium, then the Dome. But then my dad would take me to these other places that were more close by and easy to access. And so, yeah, that's what I'm passionate about.
I love that, and I think this passion is coming through, and obviously with the fact that you want to preserve this league, you want to continue it, but like everything, it's a business, right? There's a certain business element to it, and it seems to be that the business is certainly thriving in this league, so congratulations on that. What I would ask you this is the word Canadian Baseball League. Now, when I hear Canadian Baseball League, I think of Canada. Right? And we did kind of hint on expansion and stuff like that too. But as it stands right now in terms of geography, we're kind of in Southern Ontario, our teams. Is there any possible way to link beyond Southern Ontario to have a team? I mean, we're looking at this. We're looking at the CPL for the Canadian Premier League, that's kind of cross-country. The CEBL, too, with the basketball, that's kind of cross-country as well, too. Obviously, this is going to take many years to continue this, but the long term, is that a possibility? And I just don't know how many leagues around the country there are like yours.
Yeah. Well, good question. I mean, one of the reasons that we chose this name is that indeed we are the only league in Canada of this caliber. There is nothing else.
Wow.
And so when we are bringing in the Fernando Rodneys and these players from AA, AAA who've just been released and they're coming to us, they had already been describing us as the Canadian League, and they have agents, and they say, "You want to play in the Canadian League?" And so we've already been known as the best league in Canada by far. So that's one of the reasons why we chose the name, even though geographically it doesn't necessarily reflect where the teams are. To answer your question, long term, it's absolutely possible that we'd expand. But, there's unique business issues associated with being that, wide geographically, of course, right? Like the CPL, the CEBL, those are great leagues. I talked to the commissioner of the CEBL on several occasions. They've been so helpful and kind and giving in the information they've shared. But it's just a different dynamic. I mean, the economics of traveling across country,
Sure.
of more hotel rooms, it's a whole different thing that we're not there yet. And able to sustain. Right. But we are expanding, and I'm eager to see if we can get a team in Montreal or in or around Montreal, and long term even beyond those two provinces.
Could you imagine if you had a team and you named them the Expos? I don't know if there's a what do you call it, a copyright on that name. I'm sure there is or whatever. But
I believe
baseball in Montreal, or at least in the province of Quebec, what a cool thing that would be.
I think they would support it very strongly. Yes. So I mean, and there's some great parks there. So we're looking at it, and hopefully that happens down the road.
Outstanding. So this all gets going just this your upcoming season here.
That's right. We start the second week of May. There'll be some exhibition games before that, but we start the second week of May and end of August, and playoffs are in September.
When you brought this up with this team, and I do have to look at it from this angle as well too. Obviously, this is all from my standpoint. It's all tremendously positive. Was there any negativity towards whatever little changes you've made?
Yeah, I think there's some people who were just not sure about why we're doing it, and whether it's sustainable. Maybe they were thinking about those things, but of course they wouldn't necessarily know what the economics are of the teams individually, and certainly. If you were put on your owner's hat for a minute and say, do I want to do this? Believe me, they did some due diligence of their own to crunch the numbers to say, does this change things drastically? Is this a concern? So the people who have been maybe concerned about it, probably just come from a standpoint largely of the tradition. Maybe they were very very tied to the name and the tradition, and that's why I've been trying to emphasize that this is still the same league, but we also have to promote the league, right? I mean, it's challenging when I would say my number one challenge as commissioner of the last 3 years has been explaining who we are. And, that kind of goes out the window when we know we're now Canadian Baseball League and it's professional baseball. Now people know exactly what they're talking about and what we are. And so that'll help all our teams. It'll help all our players, do what they're doing even better.
Fan question from a friend of mine that's a big sports fan and a big lover of baseball. And this individual and a couple of his friends go to all of your markets to watch games. And obviously for him, and I think his friends, Christy Pitts is his place. And I mean, the history, baseball's been played there for so long with the Maple Leafs. But he wants to know, straight up, Mississauga.
Yeah, well, I mean, right now, Mississauga doesn't have a turnkey stadium.
Oh!
Right? I mean, whatever the best park is in Mississauga would likely need infrastructure upgrades north of $2 million.
Really?
So that's the issue. Certainly there's a population there, right? But that's not unique to Ontario. But we have a dearth of really high-end baseball facilities in Ontario, such that it isn't a matter of finding a community that has a good population. It's really about finding the ballparks.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're hoping to, in the next 5 to 10 years, at least a couple new great parks are built or retrofitted to meet our standard.
He brought that up to me, and then I thought about it, and I was like, well, I mean, I think about how many OHL teams are, and that. Like, we could go on and on about what a gold mine that area would be, that it has undergone so much growth. I mean, I think when you take a look at that whole area, that's more than 1 million people, is it not? With Brampton, Brantford,
for sure.
Bramalea, Mississauga. Then I'm like, well, there really isn't a team there. I think it would work there too. So yeah, anyway, but he is from there and he travels.
Well, if he's interested in putting together a proposal and finding some government funding,
you know who you are. You got some cake.
Send him my way.
I will. Hey, this is awesome. I'm pumped up for baseball already. Professional baseball in our market is here and here to stay, which is outstanding. Our markets that are growing and are doing so well. Obviously, we talk about Welland and Hamilton, obviously, but it's growing, and it's great to see that all these markets and all 9 teams are doing very well. You've turned the screws on some changes, which I think are going to work. So I would say congratulations to you. Continued success. We can't wait for the opening pitch already.
Thanks, Bubba. Hope to see you at one or more of our games, and it's been a pleasure to be here.
I've been asked by both of those teams to throw out the opening pitch. I kind of keep finding excuses not to.
Well, we got to get you to the gym to train for that. You got to make sure.
I know. Anyway, thanks, Ted. Congratulations, and I said continued success.
All right, thanks so much.
Thanks
Bubba.
for joining us. Hey, that's your Sportsline Podcast for the day, and you've just seen and heard we love talking sports. We love talking baseball, pro baseball in Southern Ontario. If you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote, the Sportsline Podcast do want to hear from you. Please hit that thumbs up, like, and subscribe button, and if you have something to say, please comment. For the outstanding people that make the Sportsline Podcast possible, thank you so very much. And we'll see you real soon.